Janelle, what an appropriate topic to talk about. I mean, right around the holidays, we're talking about, giving to others and this, so I thought this topic was absolutely perfect. What I want to talk about first is your stage presence. This is your second speech, and I would honestly think you've been doing this for a lot longer. When you come up here, you have a way of just taking complete ownership of this entire room. I mean, and I looked around and everybody was just kind of like leaning into you, but where I really saw you shine is when you tell stories. When you got into your story, and it's not just the story. I mean, telling a story is one thing, but bringing a story to life is a true talent, and you do so amazing at that. And I just want to give you a couple things that I wrote down during your story, what I mean by that. So as you were starting to talk about the village, you talked about dirt roads, you talked about fires for cooking, you talked about edible utensils. You gave us vivid images, mothers carrying children with a bucket of water on their head. My mind instantly went to Jungle Book, that's what I was thinking of. But then you twisted a little bit and said, well, what if it's not clean water? And then kids playing in dirty water. And you just kind of brought that whole, just kind of full circle with that story, which I love that, because you were really setting up where you were going with the story. What I appreciated was the vulnerability of this story, because you were talking about pictures being snapped, girls twirling in their new dresses, how excited they were, and then your voice cracked, and because you started to talk about the voice and how they felt, that they weren't a part of this. And what I liked about that story is you tied in the assumptions. We assumed we knew what would fix this. And how often do we do that, right? We assume, we go into, let me fix it, let me go right into it, let me do what I can do. And so I could appreciate all of that. So it really, your story was perfect. I felt like it was the highlight of your speech. Everything really fed into that. So just a few things that I would kind of, that I looked at. I think that we have similar personalities. So I got to hear your first speech. I read through some of those notes, and then on this one. The one thing in this area that was challenging for me, and still is a little bit, is because of the rate of speech that I do. I talk very fast, so do you, especially when you're up here, is your transitions. Just make sure that you pause for your transitions. There is, and I did highlight it in your book on page 15, just look for some of those transitional words. So as you're kind of switching to kind of tee it up, that way people know that you're moving from one segment to the next. So there's some very helpful things. So I kind of refer back to that page a lot. Another area I would, and again, as you kind of progress throughout, is use your intro to set the table. So you kind of started talking about red buckets, 30% charitable givings. How does that apply to charitable gift? Use that in the intro. That way you can just come right up and start with your story and then just get right into that. So, and you'll kind of learn that as you go through. So all in all, you did an amazing job, and I can't wait to hear more.